Today I got on the 1801 GD by Los Angeles Apparel in vintage black, and we're going to go ahead and review it because you're looking for the best streetwear blank out there. In 1999, Dov Charney, founder of American Apparel, came out with the 2001, which was a shirt that defined the 2000 era. It was the flagship shirt of American Apparel. It was lightweight, soft fabric, 4.6 ounces, I believe, and it was retail quality, which the blank market just wasn't putting forth at the time. So it really became the blank that defined the early 2000s. And if you bought a internet tee or band merch or even a Supreme tee, you probably owned an American Apparel 2001 shirt. Also had a phenomenal color selection, which was just really uncommon in the early 2000s. And streetwear, for the most part, went the other way. So through the 90s, they printed on, basically commodity tees that were available. This includes Screen Stars. I mean, everyone knows Screen Stars classic, Hanes Beefy Tee, classic too, Onita, Tooltex, heavy, boxy, open end cotton, just rough and boxy silhouettes. This wasn't because it was the look that was intended, it was just what was available in the wholesale space for blanks at the time. Then in the 2000s, the Alstyle 1301 became kind of the blank standard for streetwear. And this was a 6-ounce tubular construction, so heavyweight, and then also with a boxier silhouette, and crucially it had a tearaway tag. So that just wasn't standard at the time, but the tearaway tag coming into fruition really changed things because it made branding for all these garment decorators like Supreme easier. It made it feel like it was actually their garment. They could tear away the tag, print their Supreme logo on it, and then sew in their tag if they wanted to for their own brand to make it look like it was their own cut and sew. Then in 2014, Charney lost American Apparel due to some allegations, and then in 2016 he came back and started Los Angeles Apparel, which is the maker of this tee, the 1801 GD, which we're here to talk about today. And this was actually the flagship product of Los Angeles Apparel, and what it did is it combined the retail grade of the American Apparel 2001 with the heavyweight boxiness of the Alstyle 1301. And all the while, the 1801 kept the key ethos of the American Apparel 2001 being affordable pricing. This shirt you can get for I think $9.80 at a wholesale level, and then a phenomenal color selection. I think there's something like close to 60 colors. Now everyone calls this shirt boxy. That's just nonsense. Let me show you real quick with this guy right here. So I wear a size medium, and LA Apparel listed as a 27 3/4 inch by 21 inch. I've measured that to be a 28 inch by a 21 inch. And then they list a large as a 28.75 inches by 23 inches. I measured 28.5 inches by 22.75 inches, just from the shirts that I've actually purchased from them and measured. These are all shirts right here from Los Angeles Apparel. The chart that they've published on their website is honest, within a 1/4 inch, so you can expect consistency from shirt to shirt. But now if you actually get to what the dimensions mean, if you put them in a proportion width over length, you get a proportion of 0.79, which just means that the 1801 GD is 79% of the way to a perfect box, which really doesn't categorize it as a boxy shirt. It makes it much more similar to a rectangle, as you can see, and overall it has a relaxed fit to it. So not a boxy shirt, it's a relaxed fitting shirt. Let's get that clear. I will also include that the shoulders are where the shirt fits a little differently. So these shoulders are pretty elongated. It's got a pretty exaggerated drop shoulder as well, the way the shoulder comes down here. And then it has a real oversized fit to it. There's more than plenty enough space. So this guy, the 1801 GD, is going to be 6.5 ounces, which is about 220 GSM. This definitely puts it in the heavyweight category. It's like 80 degrees right now in San Diego. I'm in this room and it definitely feels quite hot. Wholesale runs $9.35 to $16.25. This depends on the size that you're getting. So an extra small is going to be at that $9.35, and then a 4XL is what they go up to. So that's going to be at that higher range, $16.25. And also depends on whether you're getting the garment dye like this guy right here, or the pigment dye, which is going to have more color variation and give more of a vintage aesthetic here. Pigment dye is gonna be more expensive, I think $1 more for every size. And the 1801 GD has 18 singles count, a open end yarn spin, which is super common for tees at this weight, at the 6.5 ounce heavyweight. What this really means is that usually you have a rougher hand feel. I know Shakaware, even though it's garment dye, Shakaware has, I think, 16 singles, open end singles, and it has a way rougher hand feel. That's common in these types of tees. But you know, the 1801 GD really counteracts this by using the garment dye process, and then they put in an enzyme wash as well, and that helps to break in the fabric and make it feel softer and smoother and less coarse and less stiff as well. Something that's also super unique to LA Apparel, all their garments are produced completely in the United States. So this means from, you know, collection of the cotton is 100% US, and then they do all their processes of actually turning that cotton into yarn and into fabric and into garments and dyeing in the United States. I've actually had the chance to visit their facilities in Los Angeles when I was applying for a job with them, and it's pretty spectacular to see. You know, since the 90s, there's been a lot of offshoring in the textile industry in the United States. So to see someone still producing in the United States, and they also advocate on paying their workers living wages, which is true. I think they pay like their sewers $23 an hour. It's pretty phenomenal. Although I will say to that point, I applied for a data analyst job with them, and they were not paying me $23 an hour. They were paying less. So they do pay their workers great wages, but in terms of some of the other personnel, that's not the case. And then, so in terms of color, you know, 58 options, pretty phenomenal. From, you know, my database, there's very few that can compete. 240 shirts in my database, and you know, I haven't analyzed the color on all of them, but from what I've seen so far, Comfort Colors can compete with them at 67 colors. So that's the Comfort Colors 1717, and then Port and Company PC54 can compete with them too. I think they had like close to 60 colors as well. And, you know, with their color selection, and then the pricing is great too. The 1801 GD outcompetes these guys for sure. I believe this guy is dark silver right here. This is a pigment wash color, and then this guy right here is his light blue garment dye, and then is going to be a cream color garment dye. This is vintage black. I'm wearing vintage black. Back here is the 1801 GD in just a black garment dye color. The pigment dye, immediately when you get it, it looks like it has more color variation, it looks more vintage. That's 100% true. The garment dye black looks pretty saturated, but as you wash both of them, the color continues to wash out. So my recommendation for this, if you really want to get a tee that looks vintage, go pigment dye. And then if you want something a little fresher, you know, go for the garment dye. Now moving on to construction. So this shirt is going to be a tubular construction. This means that the whole body, everything from the front to the back, this is all one piece rather than having a side seam that puts into two pieces. The front and the back, it's all one piece together. Basically how you achieve this is that the body is knit actually on a tube all at once. This is a cheaper way to produce a shirt, but it just means that there's no side seams, and side seams are important because they give your shirt structure. Sometimes without a side seam, you see the collapsing of the sides of your shirt onto the natural waist. You might also see a more rounded look, you know, to the shirt because it's sewn on that tube. It's going to kind of have that same aesthetic of being cylindrical on your body when it's fitting, versus that side seam is really going to hold down and define what the front and the back is. On that tube, it's going to be hard to define what it is. It's just going to be a tubular shape. And then also sometimes you get twisting of the fabric. So for example, the side would twist to the front like this. Those, you know, I haven't experienced that with the 1801 GD. Another thing to mention that's kind of unique about this shirt is the collar. So the collar is a thick collar. I think it's about 1 inch, maybe a little thicker than that. And it's fairly tight. You know, there's not much openness, there's no collarbone showing. This really reminds me of a mock neck that was big in the 90s. It is nicely done, it holds up well. There's a single top stitch that goes around it, and that's going to help keep the structure and ensure longevity of it. I've not experienced the color going out on me in any way. So in terms of longevity, now these shirts I found hold up well. This guy, I've probably been wearing consistently for 2 years. You probably wonder where the collar is. I'll get to that in a second. But you know, it doesn't peel much. Like a lot of the time, fabric, especially like not well knit fabric or open end low singles fabric, will pill up. This isn't the case for these 1801 GDs. They're made well. And how well can you decorate this garment? Now I have done screen printing on this. It's held up well. This is a halftone print, so there's a lot of fine detail here, and that's something that can somewhat be a concern when you deal with lower singles counts. So I use an open end yarn construction, just because the knit isn't done as tight, and when it's a tighter surface, it's easier for all the ink to lay down properly. But the garment, you know, hasn't seen any issues with that. So it does screen printing well, really well. Great shirt for that. DTG, direct to garment printing or heat transfers, I haven't done. I would imagine it would, you know, do well on both. Definitely do very well on heat transfers because the heavy weight's going to help with that. You know, matching the thickness of a heat transfer into the thickness of the shirt is always a good idea in terms of drape. With DTG, that's something I'd be maybe a little more hesitant about. It does probably print better onto a finer surface. You know, with onto a surface that has a higher singles count, maybe combed ring spun cotton, just so everything's laying down flatter and doesn't have as much unevenness to deal with. You know, with screen printing you can kind of force it when you pull and push, but DTG is going to be applying like this. It's, you know, it's not going to be forcing the fabric anyway. You know, maybe it would do marginally worse there, but I don't think that there would be any issue of using this shirt with a DTG printer. And then embroidery, I mean, it does embroidery well. You know, most heavyweight t-shirts do embroidery well. Embroidery prefers a heavier surface. That way it can have, you know, a good foundation for laying in those threads and getting that needle through there. So it does embroidery well. My personal take with the 1801 GD, I really like this guy. I do. My 3 issues that I would change, which are just personal takes, is the collar. I don't like the collar as much. The tightness and the thickness. I'm saying if we're gonna do this, let's go all the way, let's go mock neck. But my solution to that is just cutting the collar off. And you can do that because that single top stitch is gonna hold the fabric and structure in place, so it's not gonna be an issue, so that's awesome. And then also the length. So for a size medium, it's 27.75 inches in length. I like a little more crop to it, so what I do is I also just take the scissors to it and I cut the bottom off, and that's not going to be an issue because with knits, they're not going to fray like a woven will. It's just going to roll up on itself, kind of create its own little fake hem there that way. So that's how I get around those issues. And then I'm a medium in most of the garments that I wear. Everyone's sizing is a little different. That's one of the reasons why I created Blank Directory, to help standardize things, and you should sign up for the email. The medium seems like, you know, it's a little tight on me. Right now I'm wearing a large, and this gives me more of a relaxed fit garment. When I put the medium on, you know, part of it seems like it's more of a standard fitting garment. But one of the issues could be that the garment actually shrinks on wash cycles. Now they claim that this is 100% shrink free. I don't know. It seems like, you know, the more I wear the garment, size medium, the more I go, I don't know, it's feeling a little tight, you know? And so, but I'll let you guys determine that one. These are all personal takes here. There's no harm in sizing up with the 1801 GD. It definitely looks great when you size up like I did. My final verdict on how the 1801 GD by Los Angeles Apparel actually fares in the 2026 blank t-shirt market, it's a sure bet. The 1801 GD is a sure bet streetwear. You have phenomenal color selection, affordable pricing, retail grade. I don't think that you're gonna get a better blank for that cost in this market. Easy bet, great value for what you're getting here, and it really, to me, and I think in retrospect to a lot of people, redefined what it meant to be a blank in the streetwear space. If you guys disagree with me, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me why you disagree, tell me what you think, tell me what your go-to blank t-shirt is. This was the 1801 GD full review. And if you guys are looking for a print-on-demand provider to get your streetwear brand going up at zero cost, I have a ranking at blankdirectory.com. I also have the lineage of all the blanks that were impactful in the streetwear space. You can go up and sign up for the email list too. I'm going to continue to build out this website, and in the future it will have all 240 shirts that I've collected data on and be standardized so you can filter based on what you need. So we're going to be cutting through the noise and giving you the information you actually care about to get your streetwear startup going and get you crushing it.